Go ahead.
Are we?
Do I close? Yes.
Yeah,
Are we all right?
this is it.
You're live.
You have 10 people watching already. It's you.
And it's conveying to Twitter or
yeah,
X too?
I'll double check on my phone, yeah.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to our open book. Some of you just might be joining us. This dates back to the pandemic. We have a lot of books around here, okay? So we grab stuff off the shelves and stuff that comes in and even acquire new copies of old ones. And what?
SR just wrote to say, so happy to be able to chat.
Yes, well, that's what we're hoping to do. Good.
Well,
exactly.
the only problem is that now the keyboard is on its side, so you can chat, but I may not be able to respond.
All right. Well, but you
We'll
could
figure
read
that
comments
out.
like when people
Yes,
have
I
questions,
can.
right? So it's the something or other birthday of James Joyce.
This is wonderful. Everyone is joining and chatting.
Really,
This
this is
like
great.
the old days.
Oh, this is great. Okay, good. So James Joyce, and
The portable.
the portable James Joyce. I'm going to read from Ivy Day in the Committee Room, and I remember when I read this story as a student. So the group of politicians in Dublin that are getting together in the back room of a tavern where they have ward meetings and talking about political heroes, and some of them had problems with each other, the Irish Nationalist Party, the Conservative Party, but it is the anniversary of the death of Charles Stewart Parnell, the great Irish nationalist leader, who was Protestant, as a matter of fact. And in any event, they're talking about his legacy and things they've done and who's been paid and who hasn't been and who's been paid off. In any event, because some of them are aldermen, it reminded me of Chicago so much, and I was always just touched by the feeling in the story. So I'm going to read towards the end. We can often forget that Joyce was also a very esteemed poet, and some poetry makes it into the story. So I'm going to read, and I'm going to try and not give in to doing a brogue, but it will be very difficult. Will you help me, darling?
Yes, oh, I'll help you.
Yeah. So we're. Oh, I will help you. Bloody hell, I will help you. Are people logged in?
Yes, it's wonderful.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So they're also preparing for a visit of King Edward to Dublin. The King's coming here. I began with the brogue immediately, right? Sorry.
No, that sounded good.
The King's coming here will mean an influx of money into this country. The citizens of Dublin will benefit by it. Look at all the factories down by the quays there. Idle! Look at all the money there is in the country. If we only worked in the old industries, the mills, the shipbuilding yards and factories, it's capital we want. But look here, John, said Mr. O'Connor, why should we welcome the King of England? Didn't Parnell himself? Parnell said, Mr. Henchy is dead. Now here's the way I look at it. Here's this chap come to the throne after his old mother keeping him out of it till the man was gray. I think we've seen that recently. He's a man of the world, and he means well by us. He's a jolly decent fine fellow, if you ask me, and no damn nonsense about him. He just says to himself, the old one never went to see these wild Irish, by Christ. I'll go myself and see what they're like in person. And we're going to insult the man when he comes over here on a friendly visit, eh? Isn't that right, Crofton? Mr. Crofton nodded his head. Aye, but after all now, said Mr. Lyons argumentatively, King Edward's life, you know, is not the very, let bygones be bygones, said Mr. Henchy. I admire the man personally. He's just an ordinary knockabout for you and me. He's fond of his glass of grog, and he's a bit of a rake. That turned out to be true, and he's a good sportsman. Damn it, can't we Irish play fair? It's all very fine, said Mr. Lyons, but look at the case of Parnell now. By the name of God, said Mr. Henchy, where's the analogy between the two cases? What I mean now, Parnell was driven out of public life because he turned out to be having a long-term adulterous affair with a woman yes, I said adulterous, to whom he was not married. In the name of God, said Mr. Henchy, what's the analogy between the two? What I mean, said Mr. Lyons, is we have our ideals. Why now should we welcome a man like that? Do you think now, after what he did, Parnell was a fit man to lead us, and why then would we do it for Edward VII? Oh, this is Parnell's anniversary, said Mr. O'Connor, and don't let us stir up any bad blood. We all respect him now that he's dead and gone. Even the Conservatives do, he added, turning to Mr. Crofton. Puck! The tardy cork flew out of Mr. Crofton's bottle. Mr. Crofton got up from his box and went to the fire. As he returned with his capture, he said in a deep voice, our side of the house respects him, because he was a gentleman. Right you are, Crofton, said Mr. Henchy fiercely. He was the only man could keep that bag of cats in order. Down, ye dogs. Lie down, ye curs. That's the way he treated them. Come in, Joe, come in, he called out, catching sight of Mr. Hines in the doorway. Mr. Hines came in slowly. Open another bottle of stout, Jack, said Mr. Henchy. Oh, I forgot, there's no corkscrew. Here, show me one here. I'll put it out at the fire. That's a new way we have of opening wine bottles, darling. How's the brogue?
It's fine.
Is everything all right?
Yes, it's great.
The old man handed him another bottle, and he placed it on the bob. Sit down, Joe, said Mr. O'Connor. We're just talking about the chief. Aye. Aye, said Mr. Henchy. Mr. Hines sat on the side of the table near Mr. Lyons, but he said nothing. There's one of them anyhow, said Mr. Henchy, that didn't renege on him. By God, I'll say for you, Joe. No, by God, you stuck to him like a man. Oh, Joe, said Mr. O'Connor suddenly, give us that thing you wrote. Do you remember? Have you got it on you? Oh, aye, said Mr. Henchy. Give us that. Did you ever hear that, Crofton? Listen to this now. Splendid thing. Go on, said Mr. O'Connor. Fire away, Joe. Mr. Hines did not seem to remember at once the piece to which they were alluding, but after reflecting a while, he said, oh, that thing. That's old now. Out with it, man, said Mr. O'Connor. Shh, shh, said Mr. Henchy. Now, Joe. Mr. Hines hesitated a little longer, then amid the silence he took off his hat. He laid it on the table and stood up. He seemed to be rehearsing the piece in his mind, and after a rather long pause, he announced, the death of Parnell, 6 October, 1891. Cleared his throat once or twice and then began to recite. He is dead. Our uncrowned king is dead. Oh, Erin, mourn with grief and woe, for he lies dead, whom they fell gang of modern hypocrites laid low. He lies slain by coward hounds, that he raised to glory from the mire, and Erin's hopes and Erin's dreams perished upon her monarch's pyre. In palace, cabin, or in cot, the Irish heart where it be is bowed with woe, for he is gone, he who would have wrought her destiny. He would have had his Erin framed, the green flag gloriously unfurled, their statesmen, bards, and warriors raised before the nations of the world. He dreamed, alas, 'twas but a dream, of liberty, that as he strove to clutch that idol, treachery sundered him from the things he loved. Shame on the coward, caitiff hands that smote their lord, or with a kiss betrayed him to the rabble rout. Fawning priests who were no friends of his. The Catholic Church felt that Parnell had not behaved as he should. May everlasting shame consume the memory of those who tried to befoul and smear his exalted name, of one who spurned them in his pride. He fell as fall the mighty ones, nobly undaunted to the last, and death has now united him with Erin's heroes of the past. No sound of strife disturbs his sleep, calmly he rests. No human pain or high ambition spurs him now the peaks of glory to attain. They had their way, they laid him low, but Erin list his spirit may rise, like the phoenix from the flames when breaks the dawning of the day that brings us freedom's reign. And on that day may Erin well pledge in the cup she lifts to joy our grief, the memory of Parnell. Mr. Hines sat down again at the table. When he had finished his recitation, there was a silence, and then a burst of clapping. Even Mr. Lyons clapped. The applause continued for a little time. When it had ceased, all the auditors drank from their bottles in silence. Pock! The cork flew out of Mr. Hines's bottle, but Mr. Hines remained sitting, flushed and bareheaded on the table. He did not seem to have heard the invitation. "Good man, Joe," said Mr. O'Connor, taking out his cigarette papers and pouch, the better to hide his emotions. "What do you think of that, Crofton?" cried Mr. Henchy. "Isn't that fine? What do you think?" Mr. Crofton said, "It was a very fine piece of writing."
So we have some questions.
Yes.
Can we do it this way even if you have guests?
I hope so.
Yes.
Yeah, we could just put the, yeah.
Wonderful.
Exactly, yeah. Well, and I'm counting on that. We will have a guest coming up this week, Norman Brokaw, who's written the biography of his father called Driving Maryland. And I think another guest, a great Canadian author. And yes, that's one of the reasons we're doing this. Any other questions?
No, but lots of comments. It's lovely.
So this is working, huh?
Yes, it is working. So now I have to see if I can put it back on the side so that I can use the keyboard. Maybe we'll test
Yeah,
that.
I think there should be a way of doing that, like it's right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah,
The biggest thing, and I put this in the chat,
yeah.
is that if everybody, after, we need to change one thing on privacy settings so that people, so that playback on other websites is possible, so people can watch the recording on Twitter.
Yeah.
But if people can share the post
Mhm.
on their own Twitters, in addition to retweeting yours, that
Yeah.
would be very helpful to retrain the algorithm
Oh,
so that people can find.
did you hear that?
Wait, somebody says horizontal format would fit better in YouTube, but no big.
No biggie.
Okay, we will share. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Maggie.
Okay, wonderful.
Well, very
Yes,
good.
this is so nice. So many familiar names. Elise, I see you. Marianne, everyone, how lovely. Diana, SR, thank you for joining us.
You mean the other Elise?
Yes.
I know, Dr. Elise, if I'm not mistaken. So,
Yes.
well, it's very good to be with everyone on James Joyce's birthday.
And Mark Kemble, algorithms will be retrained. Great idea.
We retrain algorithms.
Yeah.
Get along, little algorithms. Yeah, all right. So we'll figure out how to do this, blah, blah, blah. But thanks very much for being with us tonight on our open book.
Yes, wonderful.
See you later. We'll try this again tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, how do I end it, Maggie?
Oh, there is that.